2 hours. That is how long it took after I posted a blog post on Mary Magdalene for 2 men to enter my inbox and tell me I had it wrong. And I want you to sit with that, right? 2 hours. I really couldn't have written this better myself. And so today I want to talk about that. And I have some notes here because I really want to make sure I have all of the thoughts, all of the things that I want to say here, because it has been an incredible week. And I am not surprised at all. And let's talk about why it doesn't surprise me. Because this isn't like ancient history, you know, with like the scribes and people scratching out the women's names and replacing it with someone else's, you know. This is now. This is a Thursday. This is my inbox. And, you know, I published this piece. So this piece is called The Shadow Side of Mary Magdalene. And in that blog, it's a personal blog. It's a blog about my own personal experience with Mary Magdalene. You know, my lifelong connection, that's through my grandmother, through the French mystic tradition she carried, you know, quietly in every room of her house, with a single plastic rose and a Mary statue on every shelf. It's about that transmission that was passed down to me. And about how people only connect to the love and light side of Mary Magdalene and often miss the shadow side entirely. And I wasn't making claims about whether she and Jesus were romantically involved. I'm not here to argue those things. You know, of course, when you mention something like that, it can ruffle feathers. And I'm not here to debate. I have no interest in debating. So if you want to enter the comments with a correction, with the debate, you can go right ahead, but I am not entertaining that. And what I was writing about was her spiritual role, her erasure, right? And I'm not here to debate that either. I'm talking about my own experience here and my own healing in connecting through her transmission. So let's go into the inbox. And within the 2 hours of those men popping in and reaching out to me, the first one to know what are you really trying to say here? I don't know what you're really trying to say. And he was like, are you claiming that she was romantically involved with Jesus? You know, he included, I want you to hear this. You know, he included a copy and pasted AI search result to correct me with biblical, passages and blah, blah, blah. He also posted a Google AI summary to tell me I had Mary Magdalene wrong. Oh, well, if the Google AI summary says I must be wrong and my experiences are wrong. We're talking about experiences here. So the second came from a genuine place of theological conviction, again, quoting scripture, explain the nature of divine love, because I did not understand divine love apparently. And he wasn't unkind, but the message underneath was like, you misunderstood her and let me explain her to you. Mansplain Mary Magdalene to me. So I want to be clear, I'm not putting these 2 men down. I don't think either of them woke up that morning and said, hey, I'm going to erase a woman's understanding of Mary Magdalene today. But that's the point. That is the point. They didn't have to think about it. It's just reflexive. It's 2,000 years of like the same pattern so deeply embedded. And it doesn't even feel like a pattern anymore. It just feels like being helpful. And I know in their hearts, they thought they were being helpful and trying to correct me, so that I could be correct, setting the record straight, She knows this feeling well. I know this feeling well. Everyone with a vagina knows this feeling well. So I'm sure other humans do, but I'm sure non-vagina humans understand, but here we are. So here's what I find like so extraordinary about the timing of my experiences. There is a scholar, her name is Elizabeth. I'm not gonna say her full name. I'm just gonna like link it down below. It's like SP. I'm just gonna say Elizabeth SP. She's a PhD assistant professor of New Testament at Villanova University. Sorry, Elizabeth, I can't pronounce your name. She left a career as a singer-songwriter, learned Greek and Latin, and spent years, hundreds of hours of hand-copied early manuscripts of the Gospels to do a side-by-side of reading the Gospels pre-English translation and post-English translation. And so of the like versions we use today. And her findings is not a theory. It is not speculation. It is physical evidence. Physical evidence. The scribes literally scratch out a letter in the Greek manuscripts of the Gospel of John, one letter that changed Mary to Martha. And in doing so, they split one woman into two, effectively removing Mary Magdalene from the most significant moments in the entire gospel. So you can go ahead, do your research, go see Elizabeth. I'll put it in the description below. Her work is pretty incredible. Thank you. Thank you for your work, Elizabeth. So this isn't fringe. This is peer-reviewed scholarship showing us that the erasure was deliberate. It was methodological and ongoing across centuries of manuscript transmission. So within 2 hours of me writing that erasure, it happened again in 2026. Are we to the? Yeah, we're 2026. Oh my God. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. And so I write about that. And that is the mystic tradition around Mary Magdalene, especially the French lineage. I am French Acadian on the east coast of Canada. And what I shared is my experience, the quiet grandmothers at the back of the church, holding their rosaries, passing something forward that was never fully extinguished, no matter how many times it was pushed down. My grandmother was one of those women. She didn't speak English. Every room in her house had a single rose. Every color of the single plastic rose matched the color of the wall. And she also had Mary statues, rosaries everywhere. We would do the rosary together and our Hail Marys together. And years after she passed, I heard this scholar, Elizabeth, years, because we're, talking like 15 years after she passed, that I heard this podcast and heard Elizabeth speak. And she was talking about all of this. And then the conversation led to those French grandmothers, the ones that were the quiet Mary devotees carrying the transmission and at the back of the church with the rosary. And I broke down. I cried. I had full body goosebumps and I recognized it. Something hit me. And even now when I speak about it, I can feel the emotion. I just want to sit and cry in the best of ways. And this is what my post was about, my relationship with that lineage, my own healing through it, not a theological argument. This is a lived transmission. And what I've come to understand is you cannot fully receive that lived transmission by staying in the love and light. That shadow has to be included. And her actual story, surviving the murder of her partner fleeing, going underground, carrying wisdom, forward on new soil, with new language, her name probably stripped away. Not probably, it was stripped away, in these scriptures. That's not a soft story. This is a story of a woman who just kept going anyway. That is shadow work. So to these two men who reached out, genuinely no hard feelings, I've replied to both of you with clarity and kindness, but I also want to name what happened, because that's part of the work too, is noticing the pattern here. Not collapsing under it, continuing anyway, just like she did. So if this resonated with you, the original blog post is linked below. This blog post is kind of like my feels into the waters, because I couldn't find anyone else speaking about this, speaking about the depths of Magdalene and the shadow work. And so I thought I'd start the conversation. And so this is planting that seed. And I'm wondering if it resonated with you, if this resonated with you. I would love for you to hop in the conversation. And I would genuinely love to know if you've experienced this. Do you feel the pull into her shadow? And have you had your understanding of something sacred questioned or corrected by someone who is never going to be able to hear it anyway? Tell me in the comments, because I'm really asking. And just a reminder, I'm not here to debate. I'm sharing my experience, and I would love to hear your experience. And I will not debate your experience, because it is valid. So tell me in the comments. Lots of love, and see you next time.